Hey there! Welcome to Exposing the Hidden Reality. I'm Annette, career reinvention coach and caffeine-powered human.
And I'm Sandra, women's life and leadership coach. I bring the woo to our conversations.
And this is the podcast where we call out all the unspoken stuff, biases, outdated expectations, and all the things women navigate in work and in life.
Yes. We bring to light what we see happening. Smart, capable women stuck in the same patterns because no one really talks about what's going on.
We'll bring some difficult truths.
Welcome, insightful experts.
And sprinkle in a little chaos and fun.
It wouldn't be us if we didn't, right?
It's true.
So whether you're walking the dog or tuning in during your commute, we're glad you're here. Let's do this.
Let's do this. You want to do the let's do this together? Like 3, 2, 1, let's do this. All right, 3, 2, 1. Let's do this. And here we go. We get to do this. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm super excited to have Alyssa with us and talking about her story and some common things that affect women in life, in work, gosh, in all parts of who we are. So Alyssa, if you could take a few minutes and introduce yourself, we'd love to hear more about you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Alyssa Zonghetti, and I am a certified clinical hypnotherapist and mindset coach. And I really specialize in working with women primarily to really overcome our habits, our fears, and really just increase that level of inner confidence that we all have that sometimes is buried deep. And so I really love to work with women to help bring that out of them.
That sounds like something all women need at some point in their life, for sure. Talk a little bit about your story. How did you get into becoming a hypnotherapist?
Yeah, so not something I ever thought I would do. Didn't, grow up as a child and say, oh, I want to become a hypnotherapist one day. It was a very interesting journey. I'm actually an event planner by trade, and that was my career for many years, was planning corporate events. And through some of my own personal journey and personal experiences, including being in narcissistic relationships, I did lose my husband to suicide when I was 31 years old. And just everything that came about through that journey really led me on my own personal development journey to really understand, how did I get into these situations? Why was I repeating these patterns? Why was I calling in similar people into my life? And instead of pointing the finger at others, I really wanted to understand what my role was in things. So that really led me on my journey. And through that personal development journey, really understanding, again, my patterns, my behaviors, things that I could affect change around, it really empowered me to want to spread that message to others and help other women especially do the same. I had such a low level of self-confidence, self-worth, and self-love that led me into these narcissistic relationships and led me to be a people pleaser. And I mean, I literally chose a career of pleasing people, right? I chose an event planning career where I literally please people for a living, right? So when I really started to recognize all of this and said, okay, again, how can I create these changes? And I just wanted to create conversation around these topics because I lived with a lot of shame. I kept my story quiet. I come from an old school Italian family where you don't talk about your problems. You don't talk about anything, right? You just put on a brave face to everybody. Yet I was crumbling inside. And so I was like, enough, because once I started sharing my story with people, so many women, oh my gosh, I've experienced this too, or I'm going through this right now, or I know someone who's experienced this. And once that conversation was created, it just showed how we're all struggling with something, but how common some of these topics were for women. And so I just really wanted to start normalizing those conversations and helping, I really do believe that by connecting and sharing authentically, we can help each other. And so going through that journey, I started creating a community geared towards women that were single, actually at the start of the pandemic. Because as somebody who was single and quarantined alone, it was a very lonely, isolating time. So I started creating this online community for women. It was hosting virtual events. And it just kind of snowballs from there. It was, again, never anything I really set out to do. It was just a need, something for myself. I was looking to create connections. And so I just, created a place because I said there's got to be others that are feeling the same way. And again, when I was sharing my story publicly to these women, a lot of them were seeking to me and looking to me for some coaching and some support. And that's what led me on my journey to become a mindset coach. And then as I was on that journey, I really became very familiar with hypnotherapy and a lot of the mindset work and how powerful our minds can be and the ability we have to create change. So I went ahead and got certified in hypnotherapy because I really wanted to be able to support, again, women in a strong way because, again, I can share my story. I can, share tools that I have learned, but I really wanted people to be able to walk away with something concrete, to be able to truly create that change for themselves. So I dove in and went ahead and got certified, and I haven't looked back since. It's been a great journey.
That sounds amazing. Hypnotherapy. All right, let's talk about what people think it is versus what it really is. So maybe you can help educate all of us.
Yes. So thank you for asking that, because immediately we all have this Hollywood perception, right? You think I'm going to break out the pocket watch and I'm going to start swinging a pocket watch at you. I'm going to make you bark like a dog or quack like a duck. And right? We all have this Hollywood stage perception of what hypnosis is. And that's a thing. And there is like an entertainment element. That is a thing. That is not what we're talking about here. Here we're talking about the deep subconscious work, right? We all have these patterns that we've created, these behaviors that we've created, whether, through learned experiences. And so really what we're trying to do with hypnotherapy, it's essentially just a form of guided meditation. And so all we're doing is really taking somebody on a journey. I mean, all we're doing in a session is someone's listening to my voice. We're really understanding what change they want to create. And by leading them through this meditation, it's helping to really create the change at the root. So I don't take control of anyone's mind. I'm not doing anything to you. I am just helping guide you and your mind to create this change. I always explain it to people much like a trainer at the gym, right? They're there to help guide you. They're going to show you what exercises to do, the proper form, how many reps to do, but they can't do that work for you, right? Like you have to do those exercises. It's very much the same thing with hypnosis. I can act as a guide and I can take you on that journey and show you the way, but you hold all the control and you get to do, really make the change.
That's a great explanation and so much easier to understand. So tell us a little bit about how you use hypnotherapy and your coaching as well to help women who are experiencing imposter syndrome.
Yeah, so this is a good one. I think such an important topic for really a lot for everyone, right? But definitely a big topic for women, because I do believe, right? We're trying to be all the things and do all the things, right? We're trying to be career women. We're trying to be moms. We're trying to be good daughters, good friends, good sisters, right? We're trying to wear all of these hats. And so sometimes we can feel spread so thin. And I think a lot of times it feels hard to go all in on one area when we're spreading ourselves so thin. And so it can create a lot of these feelings of this imposter syndrome because we don't really feel that we can own who we are inside, right? Whether it's, again, outside influences, if it's when it comes to career or maybe the corporate world, there's certain perceptions or certain ways we have to be. And so I think a lot of women can get put in the box too. And that can be really challenging because it's trying to be like, okay, I need to be this like corporate person that someone wants me to be, but this is who I really am. How do I mesh the two, be authentic, but also be in a way that is, is accepted by others. And I feel like trying to mix all that in can always be tricky. And so a lot of the women that I work with, I always find no matter what they're coming to me for, whether it's for, nutrition habits or it's for career, fear of flying, whatever it is, right? It doesn't matter, but it's always rooted in one of three things. It is our level of self-worth, self-confidence, and self-love, or a combination of the three. And everything really is rooted there. We deal with the imposter syndrome because we don't feel worthy enough. We don't feel capable enough. We don't feel maybe smart enough or educated enough. And so we put all of this stuff on ourselves because we're like, and again, right, forget with social media, we see everybody's highlight reels and everyone's putting out all this content and we're like, wow, look at this person, they're so successful, or they're doing this and they're doing that and I'm not doing that. And it becomes so easy to beat ourselves up and to do that comparison journey. But that's really what I get passionate about women, to help them understand it's not about what other people are doing. And again, just because that's someone's highlight reel, again, if you have a conversation with them behind the scenes, right? We're all struggling. I mean, I was laughing right before I logged on here, right? There's a leak in my apartment right now. And like I had maintenance here 2 minutes ago. Right? like life happens, things happen, that are out of our control. And so like just being real about it and owning that, and knowing that that's okay. But I think we're put again into these boxes. We're expected to be a certain way and be perfect at everything, dress the part, look the part, act the part. And we just put all this stuff on ourselves that is not attainable. And so I really try to help women to dig deep, right? We didn't start off that way as kids, right? We're usually very confident as kids and we don't have all these outside influences. And so it's really thinking back, like, what happened to you along the way to make you feel that way? Who or what made you feel not worthy enough, or that you weren't capable enough? And I think once we can really understand that, then that's how we can create the change for ourselves in the long term.
I think that's a really healthy way to approach it. And you went through something huge. So I'm so sorry that you experienced the loss of your husband. I can't imagine the ways in which you were expected to behave by others. That situation is full of external expectations. So how did you deal through that, and how do you turn that into how you help people now?
Yeah, so it's actually, again, a very interesting question, because I was actually estranged from my husband at the time, when he
Okay.
passed away. So there was a lot of, right, like, what was my role? I was legally his widow. We weren't living under the same roof at the time, right? But there was all these things, right? And so it's like, where was my place in all of this? But I was still
Right.
grieving the loss of someone that I cared about. He was somebody I knew from my childhood. It was in my life for a lot of years, right? But there was, as you said, all these expectations, whether it was from, his family and friend circle, my family and friend circle, from professional circles, right? There was all these expectations on me. And I always talk about this example. I was in therapy and my therapist encouraged me to go to a widows group.
Okay.
And I felt very shamed to be there at certain points, because I'm like, am I a widow? Do I belong here? Again, we have these labels that get put on us. And some people were very welcoming, some people were not. And so again, I felt very like judged in my grief and these expectations put on me. And it's like, well, maybe I can't call myself a widow. Maybe that's not, maybe I don't have the right to be here. These people were in a different situation and they were very happily married. And so it was very difficult, with all these people's expectations. And again, me being the people pleaser that I was, I was trying to make everybody else feel good about the situation, right? Like, here I'm the one dealing with all this upheaval, because it all happened in a very public way too. And so there was a lot that came with it. And so again, trying to make my family feel good, trying to make his family feel good, trying to make everyone around me feel okay with the situation and convince them that I was okay. But yet I really wasn't dealing with what was going on with me, because I was worried about trying to make everyone else feel comfortable with what was happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what Sandra and I talk about a lot. That's the bias, right? We see things through our lens, and then we put those expectations on others, and, oh, you weren't really the wife. How is that helpful? How is that
Yes.
supportive? It's just not, right? So I think it's important, not only when we're in that experience and we're the one that needs the empathy or the compassion, but I think it's also very important to reflect and say, am I giving empathy and compassion, or am I the one loading up expectations and judgments on somebody that doesn't exactly need that right now to get through with the things they're going through?
Yeah, so true. I mean, there's so much I learned about that journey and so much that I learned about grief, which I know is like a whole other topic. But
Yeah.
um, again, we put all these judgments on people, right? Whether we mean to or not, it just
Right.
happens again from our experiences, from what we've witnessed, from how we think maybe someone should handle a situation. And so it's like, and I mean, I still catch myself doing it sometimes, right? I know some people very close to me going through some very personal things right now, and it's like I have a vision of how I'm like, oh, they should do this, and this would be very helpful to them, and it's like, well, that's what I think, but that might not actually be what works for them, right? Like they know what's best for them. I can give some insight and input again based on my experiences, but I have to take guidance from them, like what is good for them in that moment and how they're feeling. It's not about what I think or what I feel would be best for them. It's meeting them where they're at and what's best for them.
Yeah.
So true. I often say that judgment or opinions are mirrors, not windows. So when we are offering somebody an opinion or we're making a judgment against somebody else, we're really looking into the mirror and seeing ourselves versus
So true.
actually seeing the person for who they are and what they're going through and what their values are.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was going to mention something earlier when we were talking about imposter syndrome and labels. And what I have found in my work is that oftentimes we don't know who we really authentically are because we've been so busy being what we need to be to fit in.
Yes. Yeah, nail on the head. Absolutely. We always talk about being our authentic selves and being, but it's like, what the heck does that even mean, right?
Right.
um,
Exactly.
and again, I still say to people all the time, right? Like I'm trying to be authentic as I am, and this is who I am today, and this is what
Yes.
my beliefs are today. And you know what? Tomorrow that could change, and that's okay. I think again, there's all this like stigma put on people that it's like again, being authentic means you're in this box because you know exactly who you are. It's like, well, if you know who you are for today, great. Because tomorrow you could be a different person, right? Things happen to us. We feel differently, whatever's going on in our lives, like that's going to change. And so I think, again, the more we can just like normalize that, I say all the time, like nobody has it together. Nobody really knows what they're doing, right? Like we're all just like going through this one day at a time, like just trying to like make it through each day. And so I think the more we could just like I said, normalize that. And, that's the old saying, right? We all put on our pants one leg at a time. Like, it's true. Just because people have accomplished different things or doing different things, it doesn't mean they're any better than you or anything like that. Like, we're all just people trying to, like, manage each day here.
Yeah. I love what you're saying there because the qualifier of it's who I am today in this present moment that we often forget. So we knew somebody 5 years ago. They knew us 5 years ago.
Right.
And we're still carrying that opinion, that judgment about that person without recognizing that maybe they've grown, maybe they've changed, maybe some things have happened to them that caused them maybe to even look back on the same incidents with a new perspective and maybe feel like, oh, I handled that so poorly. And yet it's so hard for people to admit that. And so how do we extend not an olive branch, but how do we suspend our initial judgment of somebody and walk into this with fresh eyes instead of looking for the data points that support the person they used to be?
Ugh, yeah. So as you were just talking, it made me think of something that I learned in therapy early on in my journey. And again, it was in terms of my relationship with my late husband. But again, I said we met when we were younger, and she said, you formed that bond with him. Your 14-year-old self has formed that bond with him. So your 30-year-old self was still in a relationship with the 14-year-old, self of you. Like that's when you two met. That's when the bond was formed. And that's what you're always reverting back to. And so it's very interesting when she said that to me, because then it just made it so much easier to understand. It's right. Like my 14-year-old self was making these decisions or having this view of him and these opinions of him. And it wasn't who he was or who I was now in our 30s. And so when you really understand that, right, like when you initially form a relationship or a bond with somebody, or however, even if it's a work relationship, right, like however that relationship is first formed, you do subconsciously revert back to that without even knowing it. And so it really takes some awareness to understand that and then be willing to do the work, as you said, to try to see this person for who they are in the current and for who you are in the current.
I think that speaks to the point that you made earlier, and I hear often, why do I need a coach? Why do I need a hypnotherapist? Why do I need a therapist? Why do I need to do any of this and have somebody help me? I can buy a self-help book and kind of do it myself. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what you have found, and maybe you could respond to that aspect of it. What I've found is it's so hard to do it without the support, because when you start to change, everybody around you wants you to change back.
What's your perspective? True. So much to say on this. So, I will speak to that first, and that as I've gone on this personal development journey and really understood my patterns, I said these people-pleasing tendencies and that sort of thing, it was very hard for the people around me to adjust to this new version of me, because it didn't serve them anymore, right?
Yes.
So I wasn't showing up in the way that they wanted me to show up for them anymore. I was showing up in a way that was healthier for myself, and that was very hard for them to understand. And so as we evolve and as we become more self-aware and as we do the work, you're going to lose some people, or the relationship's going to change because you're evolving in one direction, and whether they're either evolving in another direction or they're not evolving at all, like there could be some distance. And then to that, I think for me, the big thing is community, right? You can do these things alone, and that might work for some people. And I think there is an element to that. But to me, it's all about community, because once I started sharing my story, and I just felt like, oh, wow, like I am not alone. Like, I had such shame, and that it felt like such a failure, right? That I was in this relationship that failed. And how did I end up in these situations? And I really took it personally. But then I realized, like, this happens. It's so common. It happens to people all the time. There's women in these unhealthy relationships all the time. And then again, the more we can just talk about it and normalize it and just connect over that, to be like, okay, I am not alone. Like, this is happening all the time. Like, this is, I don't want to call it normal, but to just say, like, okay, you're alone. Yeah. So for me, that was the key. And it was very interesting. I said, when I started this group in 2020, and I just recently reflected on this, that the people that are in my inner circle now are my closest friends now, I didn't know 5 years ago. And, I still have relationships with people that were in my life before, but those have changed dramatically because I have changed.
Yes.
And it's just been so comforting to now feel like I've found some of my, people that I really connect with on a deeper level, people that understand where I've come from, where I'm going, and we just relate together on a lot. And so it's just really interesting when you can find those people that you really connect with, that it can change things so much for you. And I will add this too. I feel like I always want to share this, that some of the people that are closest in my circle, I've actually never met in person.
Yeah.
Some people that I'm with, that I literally talk to every single day and go back and forth with every day, I've never met them in person. And so that's why I just really want to encourage people. If you are looking to, you're craving that connection, you want to connect, sometimes it feels more comfortable to do it online, right? Like sometimes that face-to-face or that in-person time can feel uncomfortable. Like there are people out there, and we're all craving connection at some level. So I just love to encourage people to go out there and find it, because it is possible online, and so many great things can come from it.
I'm going to give Annette a chance to jump in here, but not before I add something. So many women carry shame around what we in society term a failed marriage.
Mm.
And I was once listening to a program that was doing research around marriage. And so the people who had been doing the research spoke about it. And, marriage for the very wealthy back in antiquity was really about ownership, right? Property ownership. And for the poor, it was more about having somebody that you could rely on from an economic perspective. And the death do you part until death do you part was really like life expectancy was like early 30s.
Yeah.
Right. And so like, okay, yeah, until life do us part, but like I'm probably only going to be with this guy for the next 15, 20 years, right? If that. And now life expectancy is like 80, 90 years old. And so this idea of till death do us part, not only is it antiquated, but it's also not even realistic in many cases. And on top of that, women have a modicum, maybe not as much as we should, of economic stability.
Mm.
So that offers some changes. And so, re-looking at what does marriage really mean? What does it really mean when I'm growing? My partner may or may not be growing, right? Is it really failure?
Right.
Or was it we were successful for a while and we're moving in different directions? What's your thought, Alyssa? And then I'm going to let Annette slide in.
I have like so many thoughts around this. And yeah, it's just so interesting, right? So again, by traditional norms, right? Like I said, I'm a failure in every case, right? I'm not married, I don't have children, I'm 45, I'm single, right? Like, by these traditional standards that were created a long time ago, right? Like that I would be considered a failure. And it's just amazing now today that we are empowered so differently. And I love that this is becoming the norm. And I know so many other women that are single and not choosing to be in an unhealthy relationships because they don't need to. I say all the time, would I like to meet another partner? Absolutely. But I don't need that partner. I am blessed enough that I have the wherewithal to be able to go out and earn a living for myself, to put a roof over my head, to put food on the table. And I don't need someone else to provide that for me. And I think it's wonderful that women are starting to see that you don't have to be in these unhealthy relationships because you can take care of yourself. And it's okay to take care of yourself. And if you choose to not have children, that's okay too, right? There's such a stigma around that, like, oh, you don't have children, like I get the side eye, and and people don't know my story, whether I would say, was it choice or chance, right? Like some women would love to be mothers and have not been given that opportunity. And so we never know, but to shame people because they don't, again, fit into these boxes is just so frustrating and disappointing. But I love to see that I feel like more women are standing in this power now to say, no, like I am worth more and I am not going to be in this unhealthy relationship anymore just because I need someone to take care of me. I can take care of myself. And I love to see that dynamic is changing.
Mm-hmm. And no wonder there's so much imposter syndrome. No wonder women so often feel like, oh, I don't live up to this standard, or they're going to find me out. They're going to find me out that I don't have any kids and I'm not married, right? Like we hide who we are because we're afraid that it says something about us that we don't want it to. And being able to release that and leave those heavy expectations that don't serve us behind could really free us to do so much more.
Yeah, it's so, I don't know why this just popped into my head, but again, when I was early on after losing my husband, I was so ashamed because I would be ordering takeout food. I used to order food for 2 people because I was so ashamed to be like, oh, here I am home on a Friday night by myself and I'm like ordering takeout food, that I used to order a lot of food to make it look like I was ordering for more than one person. Like that's how like insecure and ashamed that I felt because I like didn't want them to know like that I was home by myself, right? I think back to these things now, it's like, wow, like I was so programmed to be ashamed about who I was and where I was at, and that I was making crazy decisions like that and buying food that I didn't need because I don't know, I thought some delivery driver really cared about who I like who I was and what I was doing, right? Like nobody was even thinking like that. No one at a restaurant is thinking about that, but that's this programming that I had in my mind is that, oh, everybody's looking at me, the poor girl, the poor one that's all alone. I'm definitely being like at events like that, right? Like you feel like everybody's staring at you. Because again, you don't, fit in this box. And so
And
it's
I have to say, I'm at the other end of the spectrum, right? So I have one daughter still at home and my husband and 2 dogs. And I want to order food on a Friday and not have to share it with anyone. and not only not have to share it with anyone, right? Not have anyone say to me, oh, well, you're getting DoorDash. Can I get DoorDash? But I don't want the same DoorDash as you. And then I have to sit there and have dinner with everybody instead of like, why can't you guys all just leave? I want to be here by myself. I want to watch the TV by myself. I want to function the remote all by myself. And why don't you guys take the dogs with you? That way I don't have to like walk them.
Yeah. But I get that. And again, I think that is so relatable, right? I mean, absolutely. I mean, I definitely have friends in that kind of flavor. And they're like, can I come hang out when my apartment's empty? Like, can I come hang out and like, have some single girl time? I'm like, anytime, like come use it, but I get it. I totally get it.
This is your new side business, Alyssa. You're gonna rent your space, like live like Alyssa on a Friday night, and they can like come order their DoorDash, work the remote, have space, and nothing can bother them. This is Sandra. What a great idea!
I'm kind of liking this. Exactly. I think there is something there.
Oh my gosh, that is an amazing idea. Yeah. So I am just curious how the hypnosis process works. So what does it feel like therapy? Does it feel like sitting with a friend? Like what's the experience if somebody's trying to release what doesn't serve them any longer and be the best version of themselves? How would they work with you?
Yeah, so it's I think it's a really great process. The way that I try to work with clients is, we go through this whole intake process because I really want to understand, right? Like again, these patterns were created, they're deep in your subconscious. They're not at the conscious level. So that's what we're trying to reprogram. So we need to go deep together. I want to create this comfortable environment for people that they feel that they can open up. That's really important to me because we can't create the change if we don't understand the root causes of it. So it's really trying to go back and, sometimes there's some reluctancy, right? We all don't want to go back to childhood or some of these things, but when we can really understand where some of this stuff comes from, that's where the change happens. So when I work with clients, we really would try to go deep in the beginning, just having conversation. I will pose some questions to them to get them to think in a little bit different way. And then once we really understand where they're trying to go, so that's the big thing with hypnotherapy. It's not that, again, I'll use like the example just easy, right? Like with sugar, right? Like sugar is always a big thing. Like people want to cut their sugar cravings. Like it's not sugar is bad. I don't want to ever eat sugar again. I can't look at sugar, right? That's the negative. Then the mind doesn't understand that. We need to think about where we're going. So it's like you want to envision healthier foods when you nourish your body in a nutritious and healthy way. What's that feeling inside, right? Your body feels good. You want to move your body more and understanding that, right? So it's about where we're trying to go, not what we're trying to negate. And so it's really coming from that very empowered place of where you're trying to go. So it's really trying to understand that. What is success going to look like to you at the end of our work together? And so once we understand that, that's where the hypnosis comes in, right? I can use different language patterning and really guide you through a journey. So, for example, I love the one-on-one work because I can really understand, like there's different, like I said, language patterning and words that might resonate more with you, Sandra, versus what's going to resonate with Annette. So it's really understanding what's going to resonate for an individual, because I'm trying to talk to your subconscious mind. And so when I can do that in a certain way that works for you, and I can talk to your subconscious, that's again where the change comes in. So it's a very relaxing process. Sometimes we're just having conversation, and it's not necessarily this like active session. That's part of the hypnosis process as well. But then eventually we will get into this guided meditation. So it just feels good and relaxing for people. And again, all they're doing is relaxing, closing their eyes and listening to my voice, and, you know, going on this visualization journey, as they usually call it. And so it's, people usually feel really good afterwards, and they don't, so it's like, well, how did I know if it worked? Right? Like, it's not like some light switch that all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh, I was hypnotized and it worked. Right? It's different for everybody. Some people will be like, I remember everything that you said, and you said this and you said that, and that's great. Other people will be like, I have no idea what you just said to me. I think I fell asleep. And that's great too. It doesn't matter, because again, I'm talking to your subconscious mind. So if your conscious mind was hearing me or not, it actually doesn't matter. So so everybody's going to have a different experience, but if you're open to the process, to me, that's the biggest thing. You have to be open to the process and understand that it works, because if you come in and be like, I'm skeptical, I don't know about this stuff, you've already tuned your mind out to it. But if you're open to the process, it can do amazing things for you. I am a proponent of talk therapy. A lot of hypnotherapists will say they don't love therapy, but I do feel like it helps people get to the root cause of things more too. But the thing with traditional talk therapy is that's what you're doing. You're talking. You're never creating that change. You go in there week after week and you talk about the same things, and, you know, it's a safe space to maybe share your problems, but you're not creating change. That's where hypnosis comes in. Hypnosis is going to actually help you create the change. So we're going to talk about what the problem is, but I want to also understand what the change is that you are craving and wanting, because that's what we're going to do with hypnosis. We're going to create the actual change within you versus just going in and constantly talking about the problems.
I like that. So it could work with whatever else you're doing, right? Coaching, talk therapy, right? Even you said working with a personal trainer, right? All these things can work together, or it's something that hypnosis is something you can do independently to like take it to the next level.
Yeah. So it's just interesting. I just had a conversation with someone again through social media who is a doctor and is an influencer online, and needs to have some testing done, and she had a bad experience and doesn't want to continue with her testing. So because again, now her mind's already been made up that this is a bad process, this is a scary process, these people don't know what they're doing, and she's a medical professional. Like, this is her industry, but because she's already created these blocks, she doesn't want to continue on with her testing. And I'm like, but we can change that. We can reprogram your thought patterns around that, and that's again where we create change.
I love that. Such a good educational session. And thank you for sharing so honestly your experience and how you found this tool to help you be the better version of yourself.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. I always say I'm not a gatekeeper. Like, I will tell anybody anything that's helped me, whether it's, said some of these tools to, my favorite restaurant or, my favorite pair of jeans. Like, I will tell anyone anything. Like, I'm all about trying to help each other, right? We're in this together. Like, let's lock arms and raise up together.
So it sounds like I'm coming to your place on Friday in Boston.
Come on. Anytime.
Sounds good.
That sounds amazing. Alyssa, how can people get in touch with you if you're interested in learning more about working with you?
Yeah, so Instagram and Facebook are great places. You can connect with me at the Alyssa Z is my handle on Instagram and on Facebook. You can also check out my website, which is A2Z hypnosis.com. So A to Z Hypnotherapy is the name of my practice. I'm sure you guys will link it all. But if you're curious about hypnosis, there's a lot of information on my website. I just love to be able to give people a tool, again, to learn more about it, to understand more about what hypnosis is. So if you're just curious about it and how it might work for you, go check out my website and just learn a little bit more. And again, my DMs and stuff are always open. I love to talk about any of this stuff. So I'm just always happy to answer questions for people too, if they're curious and want to learn more.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. We're so glad to have had you. So glad to have met you. And it sounds like Sandra's your new bestie. So you can come back and update us about that later.
Come to visit Boston anytime. We both have a welcome open invitation, but thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of the show. And just thank you for what you're both doing through your show. You've had some amazing guests and some really important topics. So thanks for what you're doing.
I'm collecting invitations all over the world. This podcast has now become my personal travel, planner.
But I love it. That's the power of online, right? I mean, like you said, I know people all over the world now because of the things that I've done online. And it's really cool to be like, oh, I know somebody in Portugal. I know somebody in Australia. I know online can be a stressful place too, but there is definitely some beauty out there. So I think it's great.
Absolutely.
And you now have a contact in Boston.
There's such good food in Boston too.
Oh, such good food. I'm a foodie, so you come to Boston, I'll make sure you do well.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. I'm in.
Thanks,
Thank
Alyssa.
you.
Thank you both.
That's a wrap on this episode of Exposing the Hidden Reality. If something hit home or made you snort laugh, tell us.
Seriously, we love hearing from you. Message us, tag us, or send us coffee. We love coffee.
And hey, leave a review. It helps more women find us and boosts our egos.
Which are like fragile, like suspiciously fragile.
True. All right, until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and if all else fails,
Blame the dog.
see you
next time.
Wait, did we stop recording?
No, we're still here. You have to push the red button.
Red button. Cool. Just eternal podcast.
Bye.
Bye.